Greetings to everyone tuning in. If this is your first time here, I'm Tom.
I'm Jala.
And we are a podcast dedicated to keeping you up to date with global events and occurrences while simultaneously daring to dive deeper into ideas or concepts that pique our interest. With that out the way, welcome to Curious Comedy, where we are dedicated to the truth and have nothing left to lose. Let's get into it.
Great. Tom, your passion is always significant, right? So the first topic is Germany. And I thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about the Rosneft situation in Germany. So Rosneft is a state-owned company, Russian company, which has a lot of energy assets. So oil, but also gas. And what the Germans did is they confiscated some of Rosneft's oil assets and pipeline infrastructure in Germany, because of the energy crisis. And as you could imagine, Putin / Rosneft is not really grateful for that. So you could ask yourself, okay, how is that even possible? Because confiscating some assets, especially in modern times and especially in the Western world, is something that is not happening that often.
Yeah, no, it's almost unheard of.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we should be grateful for that. So it is possible due to legislation which passed in August to provide and make sure that Germany's energy needs are secured. And they made energy supply a matter of national security. So this is quite unique to say the least, because since World War II, Germany's had always had a kind of a lingering feeling of guilt, right? So this feel sorry mentality proceeds because they were or are ashamed and hated for all the Nazi crimes. And now since 2019, when Merkel was replaced by Olaf Scholz, there has been kind of a shift in this German mentality. And I think, at least, I'm very curious what your opinion about this is that Olaf Scholz is bringing back some German pride. And I think this is due to that his actions speak louder than words, because you can see this when he establishes and defines what Germany's national interests are and then put plans into place to realize those goals. And this was unheard of 60 years before Olaf, right? And then you got three main trends, and I thought those were kind of interesting, in which you can see that Germany is just fighting for their own interest. And one is that they were one of the first countries in Europe that said, okay, we want to have 2% of the GDP must be military spending. And especially because of the history of Germany investing in bullets,
their military budget.
Right. You could imagine that as something we always said, no weapons.
Exactly.
That's the whole origination of the European Union. As long as we collaborate on energy, on food, on markets, money, etc., then in the end we are so intertwined that it's in no one's benefit to start a war.
Exactly.
So that is the whole thing, right? So then a year or two ago, you saw that Germany was fighting against the highest European court because it doesn't want to implement some EU regulation because the Germans thought that it conflicts with their sovereignty and constitution. And now you see that they are even willing to secure energy supply and even, if necessary, the far-reaching measures of confiscating assets. So I was wondering, what do you believe the future of Germany looks like?
I think it's fascinating that I'm guessing that Olaf Scholz was behind it, that he has decided to take such drastic measures as retaking the pipeline infrastructure, and how Putin might respond to that in international negotiations. But what I really find interesting about Germany as a country in the whole is that it's been reduced to rubble and grown into a superpower multiple times over, which makes you really wonder what is behind Germany that allows it to bounce back in such a manner time and time again and still be so present in today's landscape when it was, what is it, not even 80 years ago, it was completely ruined.
Yeah.
And now, today, we are talking about one of the, if not the most powerful country in the European Union. So that's what it feels very fascinating, and I'm also considering the option that they might lead the revolution against Russia's ever increasing threat to the European Union.
Yeah.
They might indeed lead that. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think I share your opinion, and especially the last point you made. It's almost like what Belgium is for France and the Netherlands back in 1800, right? That you have like a buffer state.
Yeah.
The same concept a little bit for Poland, but also Germany, right? So I know. I think that you saw that 2015 the UK left the European Union, I think.
Oh, it's been that long.
Yeah,
wow.
But because then 5 years later, which was 2022, everything should be finalized, right? So I think it's around that time. Take it with a grain of salt. But you saw that when they left the EU, it had some consequences, and I think those consequences would be even bigger if Germany would leave, because they are like the powerhouse of Europe. They have the biggest GDP, they are the most productive, they are the most efficient. A lot of innovation is coming from Germany. So, and I mean, for example, we have ASML leading manufacturing chips, but we need some companies in Germany to help us to be able to produce those chips. Just you can see that we are
Dependent.
and I mean so the northern part of Italy is like an economic area, but that economic area is like connected to like the economic heart of Germany. So you can see how Germany and their products are like the building blocks of the European economic system, right? Making money. So I think when Germany would leave, and especially with Merkel, you had a lot like sorry, and now all of it's like, wait, we are the biggest economy. We kind of deserve respect, and the fact that we are treated like no, you're modern Nazis or whatever it is. I think he's, like I said, like taking back some German pride and just saying, no, we are a powerhouse, and we should have an influence. Maybe
exactly.
right now we don't have that because France is taking over, and Italy and some other countries, but I think in a few years they have to share their power or give at least some more influence to Germany. And if you won't do that, then I think Germany could leave the Eurozone or the European Union, and then you have a big problem. Not because they are not part of the common market, but when they leave, the first thing they will do is drop the euro. And the moment they drop the euro, you are done, because the whole financing in Europe is done, because right now Germany and the Netherlands is financing the whole Europe. Like we are paying for the Italians, but also for France, and also for Spain, also for Greece. And so the moment Germany decides to say, no, we are done with this, we can get a lot more interest payments on our loans than the 1 or 2% we are getting from Italy. We can also give it to Norway and get 5-6%. Do you think we are stupid? So right now, by being included in the European Union, they are making the rest of the European stronger, and I think that is fair as long as you compensate or at least acknowledge that. But the moment you decide to say no, we are at least as important as you, which you are not, then I think Germany can be at some point in the future where they say, okay, I think we will be better off alone.
Exactly.
We will not go into war,
No.
but we will take care of our people and our territory.
Indeed. So it's a very interesting point in history if Germany were to leave the European Union, because it could mean the beginning of the end of the European Union if that happens. I had never considered the possibility, to be honest. I thought it was a far reach that Britain had done it. And indeed, if Germany isn't fairly compensated for the massive role that it plays in the economic landscape, then I think it is a matter of when and not if.
Okay, great. So I think we want to go to the next subject, right?
I'm in complete agreement.
That is great. So the second topic would be strikes and labor shortages. I think we have read a lot about it. So yeah, what did we think about strikes? Have you ever participated in one? Would you?
Well, I perhaps sadly, have never actually participated in a strike. I have definitely considered it though, on multiple occasions. But the thing that really stands out to me is that whenever I see a bunch of people striking, it's usually for some big cause, and most of the people are very excited to be there and really feel like they're bringing about change. But at least from what I gather, very little change seems to actually occur. And then I draw one of two conclusions. It's either that there is a lot of change happening, but it's on the background, right? So on the foreground you see nothing happening, but things are definitely happening and there is definitely pressure made. Or perhaps we are so dependent on regulations and we have to make very specific agreements on when we can strike and with how many you can strike, so it doesn't all collapse in one big you know what, that the effects of the strike are so limited that a company can basically let a strike go on for as long as it wants without having to make any big changes. So that is something that I would be very worried about when I see a strike. But you have, for example, the Black Lives Matter strikes and protests. I thought it's a good cause, but really, what am I changing by striking here? It feels like I'm just joining a parade. No offense to anybody, but that's just how it felt to me. And the only thing that I really considered striking for, that I actually believed in, was a higher pay for the teachers, because I am studying to be a teacher myself, and it was quite a big conflict, and still is, that teachers needed to be paid more in this country. And I think it's a global debate at this point, but it's been especially prevalent in the Netherlands. And I was on board with it, but then I realized that the workforce was very, very divided, so that on half of the days the employees would go out striking, and then the other half that couldn't strike because they had an excuse, they had to make extra money that year, or it couldn't because of their children, or they had some appointment, the other half would strike another day, right? So you would never have a moment where a strike would happen where the entire building was empty, or that everybody was part of one big party that would strike together.
Yeah.
I think that is what you need to do if you want a strike to have its maximum effect, because you need to put pressure on your boss to make change.
Yeah.
So I figure right now we are almost too divided to strike, which is so weird, since the strike is right. It's power to the people. So the idea of striking, I'm a big fan of, but I think change needs to happen for it to become an actual thing that you can do that has major consequences in a positive light.
Yeah.
How do you view it?
No, I think I agree, and I to be honest, I think I'm not sure who said it first, but the age-old wisdom, divide and conquer. Now, if that would be wisdom for a conqueror, then wisdom for the people that are being conquered would be unify and unite.
Right.
So there you are, and I think that is the point you are making, and I completely agree.
Indeed, and I think that translates into so many levels of society. But
yeah,
this is one that is very visible nowadays.
Yeah. No, and I'm not sure if I can elaborate too far, so keep me in line. But there was I had a discussion with a few friends. So it was a time where I often needed to go to the hospital, and sometimes I was talking with nurses or with doctors, and a lot of people were complaining, and it was about money, but not the biggest issue would not be. In the end, you can translate everything into money, right? But it would be work pressure. But yeah, if you get paid double, then maybe it's easier to deal with the work pressure, right? It's like risk money, as you could say. Now, I was talking with them, and I was asking, okay, but if you don't agree with the current policies, wouldn't then a suggestion be to strike indeed?
Mm-hmm.
And then they would say, no, of course not. How can I, when someone who needs medical help, saying no to him? And the same counts for a policeman or woman. Now, this is really my opinion about this, but therefore I say I completely agree with you. If you want to change something, you sometimes have to be able, or at least willing, to take some risk. And what I think is happening right now is that sometimes people are saying, I cannot strike because then I'm not giving some medical advice or help, and then the person would die. Same for a policewoman, or then someone else would fall victim for something. And that is a motivation not to do it. But what I do not understand is that my argument is always like, if you have right now a situation which is not workable, which means automatically that you are not performing the best you can. So in other words, there are clients, people calling the police that are not helped in the best way. That could be possible. So then my argument would be, you can better strike right now and help no one, and of course there will be some victims, and that is the price you pay to make sure that in the time you're striking, but especially after the time, so when you're done with striking, you can perform on the best or optimal level. And I think in the end, if you take like a 5, 10, 20, 30 year time frame, striking right now and let some people pay the price would in the end lead to less victims than if you would think, no, I can do this and I'm doing the best I can, while you know you are not performing on an optimal level.
I think you've articulated your point extremely well, and I completely agree. And I would actually like to add another layer on top of that. Indeed, so there's a consequence, right? There's a price you pay regardless, and either the price you pay right now is okay. I will not be able to help people fully right now, and what you weigh against that is, but in the future you will be able to help people better, and it will even out over time and be a net positive.
Yeah.
But also, you're setting the conditions for other people that will work with you, or that will surpass you, or that you will mentor and you will teach, and that will also all get better because you are trying to invoke change right now. So I think it doesn't even have to be a very long term, like 30 years, it could be in 5 years, because you have striked and changed the system fundamentally. You have started a process towards making it better permanently. And I think that grows outwards and ripples out through society itself.
Most definitely. Yeah, but I think that is right, and I don't think that is an opinion. That is almost a fact, because you can see that right now people are not unified, and therefore people are divided and conquered. And if you go to a company right now and ask for responsibility, good luck. For every viewer, find me a company where you can call them and say, will you take responsibilities for? Doesn't matter what it is, their own business operations, and the answer would be no. Why would we? And that says everything.
Exactly right. I think we've covered it perfectly.
Yeah. Oh, but I do want to add one more thing, if you would allow me, because I haven't talked about the labor shortages, and I will keep it very short. Right. Very short, because it annoys me a bit. And so the thing right now is that we are talking, you can read it in numerous newspapers, that there is a great labor shortages, right? So now what I do not understand is, let's take Europe for an example, or the Netherlands, doesn't matter. So in the past 2-3 years, there is almost an extensional crisis, because we have work, but people are not willing to work or whatever. But in the past 2 years, except for maybe some COVID deaths, there are not so many people have died, right? And when you see that we know at least that if you would pay employees more, then the people will be more likely to work for you. Now you see consistent price increases. This is what we call inflation, and now we are worried about labor prices of increasing, because then you say, okay, if all prices are increasing, including labor, then you get an inflationary spiral, which just means that everything becomes more expensive, but relatively you have not more purchasing power. And that is most of the times the start of the devaluation of your currency. So if you look at history, the points in time where this happened, same for the pound of the UK, that is when the performance will slowly decrease, because the power will decrease, the trust in the system, the trust that you will be the powerhouse will decrease. So I thought, and then that would also be my concluding remark, that I believe because of that we have like sort of an artificial labor shortage, which is created by an unwillingness to pay the fair price. And as always, the greed, so the unwillingness to share. And I think I'm aware of the fact that we have an inflationary spiral, and we should take that into account and be aware of that. I completely agree, but that is not an argument to say we should make sure that the labor prices aren't increasing. And if that is like almost a governmental goal, fine, but then don't talk about labor shortages. Because maybe I'm not willing to work right now for 10 euros, but if you would pay me 20, 30 or 40, then I'm willing to. Exactly. So as long as not more people have left Europe than there's more work coming in, the argument that there is factually labor shortage is just a mismatch of people willing to work for a predetermined price.
No, I agree with you. I think also indeed that.
Okay, so do you have an opinion about it?
Well, I think you covered it really well. Actually, I think indeed. Once we see that employers will be able to give a fair price for the labor that is performed, I think that indeed there is not a labor shortage. Or there is not enough people to take work. It's just that people are demanding fairer prices, and more power to them. Right? So
Okay, great. So this third topic this week is that we want to talk a little bit about the Ethereum merge, and then especially what is it all about. Especially for the audience, we don't want to cover the whole Ethereum as a topic as a whole, but really to focus on the Ethereum merge, and maybe talk a little bit about our investments. Have you ever thought about it or something like that? So, right? So let's start with the news, right? So last week, half of September, the merge happened. And what did the merge change? You have to think about. So we are talking about blockchains, and when you're talking about blockchains, you have to always compromise in at least one thing. So you have three objectives that you want to achieve, but you are never in a situation where you are able to excel in all three dimensions. So one dimension would be the consensus mechanism, which determines, okay, what transactions are valid and why is that. So it is about security. Then you can talk about the scalability. So how cheap is it to run the blockchain? And then you can talk about the decentralization. So how decentralized is it? And to give you an example, if I say, okay, I have a blockchain which is really secure, so it has a strong consensus mechanism, but it is really cheap to maintain, then automatically it can be fully decentralized. That means automatically that the power is concentrated to a few people, because otherwise you can't make sure that it is highly secure and cheap.
Yeah.
So another example would be, okay, the blockchain can be cheap and really decentralized. You can do that. But then the result of that would be that the consensus mechanism isn't that strong. And the last one would be, okay, you can say the security or the consensus mechanism is really strong, it is really decentralized, but then you know for sure it is not cheap.
Yeah.
It's high cost to maintain. And as you can see, you want all of that, right?
Yeah,
you want cheap costs, you want to have it decentralized, and you want to have it as strong as possible consensus mechanism.
Exactly. But you have to make a priority.
Exactly. So what is the change about? The merge, Ethereum merge, what did it change? It changed the consensus mechanism dimension. So what it did, it changed its consensus mechanism from a proof of work to a proof of stake mechanism. And that is just that. And what that means is proof of work is about being able to perform mathematical puzzles and find a certain hash rate which needs to fall in certain predetermined conditions, and you just need to generate hashes until you have found the hash that is necessary to complete the puzzle. So what happens, for example, in the Bitcoin blockchain, every 10 minutes all validators all over the world are competing with each other to make in a short time as possible as many possible calculations, and then say, okay, hopefully I will find the calculation which is correct and I will receive the reward, which is what we call mining. So mining is about using electricity, computing power, so hardware to generate computing power, and then to use that computing power to generate a certain hash. And if you find the correct hash, then you will get reward for that. And if the reward is higher than the investment, which it is most of the times, then you can make money by being a miner, which is happening all around the world. Now, Ethereum was doing the same, but what was happening is that Ethereum is in comparison to Bitcoin more centralized, because you have a guy, Vitalik, which is like the founder of Ethereum, and he is like almost the CEO of Ethereum, but he's not acting like a traditional CEO. He's saying, okay, I'm maybe the head or the leader, but we have a whole team of developers worldwide, and we have a sort of a democratic way of determining, okay, how do we want to change Ethereum to make it future proof.
Sure.
And now what is happening is that they wanted to make sure that Ethereum is the worldwide blockchain where you can use it to make sure that it is future ready, infrastructure wise, but for a lot of different applications. Now what happened is that because beforehand they had like the proof of work mechanism, that consumes a lot of energy. That's what a lot of controversy is about, especially from environmentalists and a lot of people. So people were saying, yeah, Ethereum, you want to be the blockchain of the future, but we have a climate crisis. We are investing hundreds of billions of dollars to make sure we are not using fossil fuel anymore. And now you're just using and wasting valuable energy to make your stupid consensus mechanism. Can't you do that better? Now they thought about it and said, okay, we can do this better, and we will make sure that we change it from proof of work to proof of stake. And that is what happened like a few weeks ago. So right now Ethereum is based on a proof of stake consensus mechanism, and instead of purchasing hardware and energy to perform calculations to generate computing power, proof of stake is just saying, okay, I as a validator, so not as a miner anymore, I'm now a validator, and I buy Ethereum. Right now it's 32 Ethereum, which is kind of a high price, it's almost 100,000 euros, right? You buy that, and then I can be a node, and then I say, okay, I sort of I stake my Ethereum in this in my node, and now I'm a validator. And what can I do right now? I can validate transactions, and then Ethereum has a kind of arbitrary system where they randomly select certain validators, and to make sure that they validate the transactions. Now you can ask, okay, but why would a validator or a staker validate in the right sense? Now, because they get rewarded if they do, and they get punished if they don't do it. And especially because you have staked 32 Ether, if you are doing something really weird, which is against the rules, then they will just slash your deposit, your stake Ethereum. Yeah, your 100,000 euros. Yeah. So that is a big thing.
That's your incentive right there.
Exactly. But the thing is, and that is like the big change, is that now the consensus mechanism is not based upon energy consumption. And to give you an idea of, okay, energy consumption, what does it matter? A Bitcoin right now no, it's probably even more, but in June 2022, the energy consumption of like the Bitcoin blockchain would be 205 terawatt hours. And to give you a comparison, that is the annual electricity consumption from Thailand. That is just consumed by that. So it's like it's sick amount of energy.
That's per month or per
year? Per year.
For Bitcoin.
Yeah. So to maintain the Bitcoin blockchain, you can power whole Thailand for a year.
Exactly. Okay.
All households, all businesses, everything.
So the entirety of Thailand and the entirety of Bitcoin is basically the same amount of energy used.
Yeah, the energy used to maintain the country via the system.
That's a lot of energy.
Yeah, it's really sick.
Okay,
and it was, I think,
into perspective.
Yeah, and a year ago, or almost a year and a half ago, it was like the same of Switzerland, but it has improved in 1-2 years too. It's almost doubled. Yeah, or like 50-60 terawatt extra. So it's growing, and it will grow exponentially. So that is why, to make sure, if you want that Ethereum is the future blockchain, you need to make at least sure that environmentalist, and it is like, let's say, climate crisis friendly. So kind of that. So that is what really happened.
Right. Well, thank you for explaining that. It really helps.
Yeah, great. So I think maybe in future episodes we can dive deeper into maybe the value of Ethereum and how we think it will proceed. But maybe for now,
if you think that sounds like a good idea, please let us know in the comments.
Great. But maybe as a question for you, have you ever traded crypto? Have you ever bought it?
I have in fact traded crypto, and I was first sent upon this journey by no one.
Now I'm very curious.
Yeah. But by Jala himself. Really, I know that there's a better way of saying that, but I could not find the words for it. And the way this journey started was him actually recommending the Brave browser to me. And because of that, I was very skeptical at first, but it's been treating me really well. And one of the function, except for allowing you to browse the internet without getting pop-up ads everywhere and just watching YouTube like a normal person wants to, and being able to listen to it on the background, which are also all very nice perks. It also allows you to gather crypto. And the way it does that is by giving you ads, which you can allow them to be targeted ads or just general advertisements. It allows you to earn a little bit of cryptocurrency. And the cryptocurrency that it gives you is BAT, Basic Attention Token, which is from the Brave browser itself. Now this got me thinking about crypto and what it would be worth, and I started looking into it a little bit more. Found out that it was something that I believed in, and because I was using the Brave browser already and I was a big fan of it, I decided to invest a little bit into the Brave browser. Then me and Jala got to talking a little bit more about cryptocurrencies, and he showed me the power that Ethereum held. And well, if you've been able to keep up with it a little bit, there has been some major price changes. So if you had invested in certain points, you could have made a big profit on Ethereum, and there's still chance that it will go up significantly. But since the merge, it has actually gone down quite a bit. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen with that. And another crypto that I invested in that I thought was really interesting was Filecoin. And again, Jala also put me on track with that one. So yeah, it was great for financial advice. So if everything crashes, I will be suing. And
Fair enough.
Right? I think that's only fair. And what Falcon basically does, it gives you the option to use the unused storage on your computer and basically sell that and get crypto in return. I thought this was a great idea as well, because the idea of needing more computer space is getting bigger and bigger for running giant simulations. I think it's a great idea. If you can make it work, it can be worth a lot. So those are the cryptos that I was interested in specifically, and I think crypto is gambling to a certain degree, but if there's project that you really believe in that can have a significant impact, I think if you have the money for it, it's a fun little thing to try, and it got me really interested in it, and I have the hope, of course, that someday one of the cryptos that I've invested in might go really big, and I'll probably not want to sell immediately because I genuinely believe in the coin and what it stands for, and I would like to be able to use it for its intended purpose. So yeah, that's my crypto story.
That's great. So you are a supporter of the how should we call it, the Web3 movement?
Well, sadly, I'm quite a newbie when it comes to all the crypto terminology, and I still think that an NFT is basically just a copyrighted PNG picture. So my information really does not stretch far into the territory of the professionalist, but I have some basic information that I need to make a semi-informed decision, and that is all I will allow myself to have right now, because I think it's one of those things where the deeper you walk into you will just get sucked in like a black hole, right? You will just be standing on the horizon, and before you know it, you are already sucked in a black hole.
I've never experienced it, but I believe your your knowledge on it. Okay.
Oh, my black hole can suck you right in, I'll tell you.
And when did you start investing in the crypto?
Yeah, when I think it was shortly after we first started discussing it, so must have been now, I think maybe half a year ago already. I think we started discussing it like a year ago because you were also interested in Tesla stock.
Yeah.
And then we kept talking about whether we were going to invest or not, and then it took a half year for me to make a move. And then, yeah, for right now, I haven't really made any major profits, but haven't made any major losses either. But a little bit here and there.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you. It was fun to try and invest a little bit. So I'm not a gambling man, but this one, this is the one exception that I have made.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you something else also about Ethereum, but I'm thinking maybe time-wise it is better to go to the next subject. What do you think?
It depends on whether we want to save the last subject for next week.
No, I don't. You?
And then we gotta hurry up.
Okay, great. Okay, I will introduce the next topic.
Great.
So yeah, we will keep it really short. It's just right, to inform you guys what is happening all over the world, and to give you some interesting developments. And yeah, last week we saw the Tesla AI Day, yearly day, where they show their artificial intelligence endeavors, which I always think is super great, because they have so many talented people working there, and I think it's amazing. I think Tesla remains #1 spot in the world for employees.
Yeah, I genuinely believe that as well. I think if I think of any company where I think that houses the most intellectual property, then it would be
Tesla. And
Tesla
also
and SpaceX.
Yeah, but I think, listen, for example, Apple could be competitive, but the thing with Apple, why it isn't competitive, is just that what Tesla has is the freedom to make mistakes and to innovate in projects that you believe could succeed. And even if you're a senior developer with Apple for 10 years plus, then you still have to go like almost the traditional route. Where with, I think in Tesla, when you have proven yourself, it's like short lines, text must yourself, right? We don't need a manager.
Yeah.
And I think so. Okay, that is a different route. So what they showed was a humanoid robot. So we can talk about a lot, but let's just talk about the humanoid robot for now. And so they was like they postponed the AI day. So originally it was like in August, but Musk told, I think via Twitter, like the audience, that it would they would bring it. I don't know how he said it, but it was like the team was working really hard on it, and therefore he thought it would be better to just postpone it for another month, because then they would have some more explicit material or something like that. I mean, they didn't explain, but that could maybe be an explanation. So I saw the robot. It was quite cool, but it was, I think, quite interesting that the humanoid robot wasn't able to perform it wasn't able to wave to the audience. And then Musk said that the current state of the hardware, so the current state of the humanoid robot, is what they expect to mass produce.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking, because that's quite interesting, right? So one could argue then that the only change that is needed to make sure that the robot is able to perform humanoid tasks would be to improve the software, right? So as the robot, right now isn't able to simply
wave its hand.
Yeah, wave its hand. So how is it possible that it then can ever perform more complicated tasks, right? So I think that is quite interesting. So it was like just robot, you could see it, but it wasn't really sophisticated.
Yeah.
In the task that it could do.
Yeah, exactly.
But they say, okay, this is the kind of hardware, this is like the prototype we want to mass produce. So then if this is like your prototype, which you're going to mass produce, but it is not able to perform some humanoid tasks, but that is the whole objective of building the thing, then you would say, okay, then the software needs to change. And I think that we don't need to forget that it is shown on AI Day. You can put simple basic software in the system, in your robot, just let the robot work for a day, and it will be super smart at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Because computing power AI, and especially if you would connect it to a cloud, which I could imagine Tesla will do, then you can train your thousands of robots in the same with the cars. Every mile they drive, then you could imagine that the robot will be in a week better than the best teacher you have ever seen, for example, because it can combine all the knowledge of all around the world. And then he said that the cost could fall below $20,000, so $20,000 to mass produce a humanoid robot, which I thought is super amazing. And then my question maybe to you would be then, how do you view these developments and like robots being able to perform more and more humanoid tasks? Would you rather categorize it as a positive or a negative development?
I think nobody has been more careful about explaining the dangers of AI than Elon Musk himself, right? So in that regard, even though it is a lot to give someone the freedom to do, I think if there's one person that we can try to trust in the process of making sure that AI will be sufficiently safe, it's Elon Musk. So in that regard, I'm not all too worried about AI going haywire. However, I do think that it obviously will have an effect on the market, right? If your robot can mow the lawn for you, then the street kid that wants to earn $20 won't get to do it, right? Or the husband doesn't get to do it. All these little things, manual labor will start becoming less and less necessary. Then again, 20,000 is also not something you just cheaply buy. But if you own a business, then 20 cheap is a business expense, 20K. So in that regard, I genuinely see the possibility of them being there. But indeed, then the issue that you brought up already starts becoming a very interesting question. Is it the reason that it isn't able to wave its hand yet? Is it due to its software capabilities or its hardware capabilities? Because if you all you care about in the AI is its ability to communicate and grasp concepts or ideas, that's a discussion that you can have. But if it's not able to walk around, not able to, just to name a few things, be a butler or mow the lawn or clean your house, if it isn't able to do these tasks, then you start having a very different sense of what you want to use AI for. Then it's not something that you're going to see in a McDonald's or you're going to see in a bank office working. It's going to be something that you put it in a meeting, for example, to give ideas to pitch to or to spar against, right? But what role is it going to play is very dependent on its capabilities in hardware as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and then the combination with like AI learning super fast.
Exactly, right? And then if it's able to perform many tests that a human is able to perform, then it starts being really interesting with machine learning, and it will probably find ways to do things so efficiently that humans haven't even been able to conceive of. Perhaps it could like find a new way to lay bricks in a manner that is 20% as efficient as the most efficient way we know right now. If that reduces cost by 20%, it will be revolutionary.
Yeah.
Just to name an example, right? And in that regard, it can be fantastically interesting. But we will see in how far it's able to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And if someone will push the boundaries, it would be Elon Musk or Tesla.
Indeed. But do you think that people that if he was to mass produce robots, AI humanoid robots for 20,000, that they would sell like hot sandwiches?
Yeah. The only reason why it would not sell is the same reason why ASML doesn't sell some merchandise to China, and that is just political.
Yeah.
There is no free market argument to not buy a humanoid robot for under 20k that is able to perform basic human tasks.
Yeah.
Indeed. I mean, a basic salary 1500 times 12 is 18. So there you are.
Yeah.
In 1 year you can make 100% return on your investment. Have you ever seen a human making 100% return on investment? Doesn't exist.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think.
But that is purely from a financial perspective,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I think your social arguments should weigh more, and I think that is also the reason why we will say, okay, the moment this is happening, we let the market do this thing, then it will sell, fine. But then we will say, okay, all those people that are substituted, we should help them, I think, and that is something we are not thinking about a lot. So we're just saying, okay, we should do or we shouldn't do, we should engage or we shouldn't engage, we should develop, we shouldn't develop robots, but I don't think it's a binary choice. You have to think about, okay, this will be the future,
exactly.
Because you could imagine why, if we have robots, would you ever do risky jobs? But the same counts for someone who has to do a very an operation with highly precision. Yeah, you know that a computer and a robot has always more control about their way of moving than a human.
Yeah.
Always. So if you want to improve security, if you want to improve efficiency, if you want to improve, you will do this.
Eventually. So robots will come at some point. It's just indeed again a matter of when.
Yeah.
But a very interesting idea that I have heard from Jordan Peterson myself actually was the army, and this I don't know exactly when this was. It was 50 years ago. Basically, the American army is always trying to recruit, right? In times of war, it's obvious they need people, as many people as possible, because they're fighting. But even in peace times, they want to recruit as many people as possible to train and to practice and make sure they have an army on standby. But what they came to find out is that if you have an IQ below 80, or around the 80 range, might differ a few IQ points, they could not find a job for you in the army. Nothing. There was nothing for you to do there, which is quite significant because that's 10-20% of the population, right? There was nothing for them to do in the army. And then he figured out that actually translates into society as well. So if you take that into account, there's 10-20% of people that just don't find a job, or just they have barely anything to do in society. The work that they do find then is menial work, such as cleaning, such as things that an AI robot could do even cheaper than they could do it.
Yeah.
And then you run into the problem we already are writing credit checks to people because they aren't able to work because they are even below that 10% or are sick or you name it. are we also going to have to pay those 10-20% of people that aren't able to work anymore because of those robots? Because what work will they do now? It's not like they can just get smarter.
No, exactly. That is the point. But then that is thinking about, okay, how do you want to educate them, right? Because if you're like, if we are talking about the 10-20% that is not able to learn right and to change, then that it's hard. But then again, you still, I think, could use those people to help to improve the robot, to make sure and to maintain, but more like supervisor like role, right? And you have a lot of people that are not falling in the 10-20% range, but are like more intelligent, like 100. Then still the robot could do it better than they. And then I think for those people we have to think about, okay, and that is I think what Musk is also talking about. Like there is a cap, or there is a point at which we know that robots will outperform humans, and we should like define that and say, okay, like it would be stupid if you got a child right now to say be a taxi driver, because you know for sure that in 5 to 10 years no one is driving a car, computers are driving a car. So if you are training someone else to drive a car, a truck, whatever, you know that is not future proof. And that way of thinking, so think about those skills, those knowledge that is useful for the future. So think about creativity, problem solving, something that not repetitive tasks, because computers will always outperform us. So we need to just know what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses, and the repetition is our weakness. Let computers do that. The creativity is our strength. Let us do that.
Well, I mean, indeed. So what I think the AI, what the AI could not offer, for example, is the warmth and compassion and perhaps the signaling. Well, maybe the signaling it could do, but the soul aspect, the connecting aspect. For you named, for example, a teacher, right? A robot could be the best teacher, perhaps in practice, yes, but a teacher's role isn't just to teach. And it's also to make a connection with the people and to create a sense of warmth and a sense of safety and an environment that they can thrive in. And I think a robot can definitely partake in this, right? But it will create a symbiotic relationship where you could have a human and you could have a robot sitting in the same classroom teaching the same class. I think now that is a concept that becomes really interesting, because you can allow the robot to do certain, indeed, repetitive tasks, or perhaps create a pitch which is ideal, or a background or a video. It can do those things in practice really well, and the teacher can almost assist the robot or work with the robot to create a perfect environment. And then I think it starts to become really interesting. But also the other thing that I really wanted to say, because you said we should let the humans do the creative things and let the robots do the repetitive things. But what I found, which is really interesting, is that there is this current trend on TikTok right now is AI making art, and it's machine learning making beautiful pictures, and those things are almost Michelangelo or Picasso-esque paintings, and that is an AI.
Yeah, but the thing is that we forget that AI is built by humans.
Yeah.
So what makes that if we're talking about AI, TikTok, we are talking about an algorithm. Who made that algorithm? So the fact that the algorithm is able to perform, in your words, beautiful, new, creative art, means automatically you cannot create something out of nothing. That means that, or the input should be creative, which it is not because you're creating it. So that means that the algorithm itself is creative. And that is what is happening. So, and the algorithm being creative isn't something that is happening out of the blue, right? So you have to have developers that are creative and know, okay, this is what makes creative art creative.
Yeah.
So right now it looks like algorithms or computer are creative than humans. That is never the case, because we have built them. The moment algorithms will build new algorithms, and those then you have it, then it will exceed us.
Yeah.
They are really creative. But right now, and even then you could argue that the creativity of the new algorithm is based on the creativity of an old algorithm, which is based on the creativity of the human. So in the end, it's going always back, and you will see that there are all those art and paintings and everything you make. If you would have the biggest art collection data set in the world, you will see that 95% of all the new paintings are, you can precisely see, you took this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. So this is really creative. Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
You just found a new way of combining, but you didn't find a new thing, right? Pablo Picasso was a great, let's say, artist because he did something new. He did something creative. He did something what other people weren't able to do. And if that would be your definition of being creative, then you can see that an algorithm in itself isn't creative. It's just people behind it, and there you have competition, but not in the algorithm itself. So, but that is just a side note. But I do follow your point, and I agree, especially with the fact that it should be complementary. And that is the boring tasks that are repetitive, fine. But indeed, the creativity and really the all the things that you just cannot program. And that is what you are talking about: feeling, compassion, empathy, safety, stuff like that. So
indeed, but then my thought is, I think as it gets more complex, I'm almost tempted to maybe want to think that AI will be able to develop feeling in some sense.
Yeah, but that is the whole point of the Google algorithm being sentient. Sentient.
Yeah, no, indeed. And
which Google is saying it isn't. You could imagine why.
Yeah, exactly. Like I doubt that they're the most trustful source in this aspect, but I feel like the more they will learn from us, as you said yourself, humans are the input. Humans have feeling, and a lot of the things that we like, for example, art, is based on feeling. Of course, there's also other factors that play into it. I'm not gonna say you look at a painting, you feel great. No, it's because you see certain things, how they relate to things, and or they can trigger an emotion, and that's what makes it beautiful to you. But I feel personally that the possibility of AI having feeling in a similar sense that humans have it is not that far off as a possibility. And then I think we are gonna enter very interesting and also treacherous territory, because then we're gonna have robot rights.
No, you're right. But I think that it will never be a level playing field, in the sense that the way I can be connected to you or any other living human being is in no way comparable to the interaction I think I will ever have with a computer or algorithm. And that's not to say that that the algorithm can't let me feel safe, or that I feel that he understands me or so. No, but I think that communication, and especially the feeling, what you were talking about, is, as we know, more non-verbal than it is verbal. So you can make a robot to give it all the verbal things, but then you got 30 or 40% of what a human makes, or what makes that a human feels a connection.
Yeah. I'm going to expose myself a little bit. I'm going to show a vulnerable side to me, but there's a few games came to mind earlier today for me. Actually, it was Fallout 4. Perhaps a good amount of people have played this game. There was also another game that was like a random Japanese knockoff anime-ish game, but Fallout 4 is a decent enough example. Now, you have this entire big world, right? You're immersed in it, post-apocalyptic, and your goal is basically to survive and thrive, to make it as simple as possible. But a feature of the game is that you have a partner, and at the first partner you meet is a dog. The dog carries with you. You're like, I got a dog, this is great, right? You get attached to the dog comes with you, the dog can't die, you love the dog. But as you progress further into the story, there's multiple different partners that you can get along with. And there's a few female characters, there's a few male characters, and as you spend time with them, progress time with them, you can get to know them better, and then there's a personalized quest line for them, and there's certain interactions that you can unlock, and eventually you can become their romantic partner. Now, I am somebody that when I game, I get completely immersed in the game itself, and I really, it's like you're exploring a different world. You explore your own world, but you explore a game world as well. Now, these characters, I'm not going to go as far as to say that I love them, definitely not, but there is a genuine connection that you feel for them, even though they are written by humans and therefore are also output by and input by a human. It is fundamentally a character on a screen, not even a robot. And still, it was possible for me to genuinely feel connection to those characters, and to want to improve my relationship with the characters. And I feel it's not too far a possibility for that to happen with AI robots. I think you already in Japan have it with some waifu body pillows, or some people that have a sort of robot that they fall in love with, sometimes even on their phone. I know it's a phenomenon that happens there, that there's a character on their phone that they quote unquote fall in love with, or have a very strong relationship with. I think if AI robot comes out and they genuinely have a sort of personality and aren't just dry cut, it will happen that people will start loving robots and get to marry them. I know it will happen.
No, okay, I follow you. Okay. I think it's at least an interesting point. So, and I don't want to offend you, so.
No, go ahead. I'm all ears.
I do think that indeed you can have a kind of a connection with a robot. And when we talk about a connection, we have it about a personal human feeling, right? Now, but I think there are a couple of important distinctions. So one is that it is a one-way thing. So when you feel connected to a game, the game doesn't feel connected to you. When I believe that when you have a human connection, of course it can happen, but most of the times you don't feel a connection with another person, and that other person doesn't feel a connection with you. So it's always two-sided. That is what distincts online from offline communication. Because online you can maybe say or communicate with some people that you are not able or unwilling to do in reality.
Yeah.
Because then you are confronted with the non-verbal things, and some things that you can like say, okay, I don't want to be influenced by it, I can just shut it off. And in real life you can't. You can change someone's voice, you can change his persona and how it looks, right? So so that is that. But okay, I believe that. But then again, if I would say, let's take a psychologist, for example. You have a human psychologist and you have a robot psychologist. Now, I think that so two arguments. One would be that you said that in the end you could feel some type of connection with the character in the game. Like you could have the same connection with the robot psychologist. Now you can feel that connection, but if I would replace the robot by a human, I believe that average the connection that you feel will improve, because you have something you can better identify with. You have some,
but that exactly is my point.
Because that I think I'm going there, and that is indeed really closely connected to the argument you were giving, like that a robot, for example, is in comparison to a person much more able to have a different different characters in the most broad sense of the word, right? So it could be, if you will, hundreds of different people in one, and really adjust to how you are as a person, and therefore suit you better. But I think, and then that's the argument, that right now, because we don't know what it is, we will make it better than it is, or at least we think that it would be better. So then, to make it concrete, then the reasoning would be I prefer to have a robot psychologist because she can be 1,000 psychologists all over the world and really adjust to my needs and my thing. But that is right now. Now we are seeking for perfection. But I believe, and you, I think, as a gamer will hear me, that there will be a point in time when you are conversating with your robot psychologist, and she is or he is adjusting perfectly on you. That is the moment you say, I don't want to have a perfect conversation partner. I seek imperfection. And that is why I believe you will always be more connected to another human than a robot, because a human makes more mistakes. And if you have only robots around you, you will feel miserable, and I think you will rip yourself of your life, because you have a constant feeling of being not good enough.
That's a very fair point to make, and I'm with you, especially at the end. I think there's a lot to say for that cause, but here's what I want to add to that. So the idea of why I think it would be so prevalent is that indeed it will, for your example, it will have 100 or 1,000 psychologists push into one, and that will be the perfect psychologist, right?
Yeah.
But you laid out that argument quite well. But what it would also be is that it would have so many romantic partners, for example, pushed into one AI, that a romantic partner would perfectly get you and could mimic the behavior that you would like to see and perfectly act that out. What it could also do, and this is what I think that AI could do that would make it so interesting, and especially on initial contact, perhaps it wouldn't last long term, right? That we can speculate on that. Perhaps it could also learn to be imperfect because it learns that humans want imperfection.
Yeah,
right?
fair enough. Yeah.
Another point that we can go to, but I think nothing will make you feel more understood than an AI that has talked to 1 million people.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody has their little quirks and some things about them that they think are unique to them or weird, and an AI could understand you, but really understand you. And if your whole person have gone and felt not understood by other people or felt alone, and an AI will be like, no, I understand you perfectly. This and this is probably because this and this, because I've seen this and this, and you will be like, what the? You are just reading my mind, and the AI pretty much is. And I think in that way, people can really develop a strong connection, because it will allow them to get closer with themselves. Because they will understand themselves more through the AI.
Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, so to a certain extent it could work, and I agree. But then again, then I would say that it would be complementary. So the moment you feel like you went to 10 psychologists and you have a feeling that no one understands you, which I think is statistically almost impossible, because then you have to re-educate people, right? But sure, let's assume that is happening. Then indeed a human robot could help. But then again, it's complementary, and it's about 0.1% of population, that is. But I mean, that could also be speculation, right? The percentage. But the thing is that, like the quirks you are talking about, when I have a quirk, it's like my little imperfection, right? I have it. You see it. Great. Now your argument is that also a computer or AI could learn how to create some imperfections. But let me ask you this: if I have a quirk, I'm not aware of having the quirk. I'm not aware of the influence of my quirk on you. The moment I become aware of that, is it then my quirk, or is it my strategy? Is it a part of knowing that? And that is what AI will always do. So they are perfect, and of course they can learn. I think it's fair point to be imperfect, but they are imperfect by construction. It's almost like you would talk to someone who is less intelligent than you, and then you would automatically change your vocabulary, and then you assume that the other person doesn't know that. But that isn't always true, because the other person can feel it.
Yeah.
They have you don't sound that, you don't look like you, and that is the point. That is the human connection that I think a robot cannot never be so perfect in it. Of course, they can improve, but the way we as humans are, for a big part, also not aware of why we feel and how we feel is also the essence of why you have an inherent feeling of connecting to other people, more than even you have to animals. But as you can see, I think around you, a lot of people can express their emotions much easier to animals than to humans.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not because they say I feel more for humans. No. You are just less scared of showing your feelings to an animal.
Exactly.
That is different. But that would be the robot. So in the end, there could be people going to the robot, but if you would go weekly to your robot psychologist, then after a few months you are like, give me a real one. And maybe he or she doesn't understand me, but that is fine.
Mm-hmm.
There is no fun in being perfect. It's like the same when we all are all striving to earn as much money as you have. But if you would talk to some people that are billionaires and you would ask them how much money do you have, they would say, "What a stupid question. You should ask me if I'm happy."
Yeah.
Right? So that would be I cursed. That's not smart. Okay. Fine.
Okay. Listen, do you think we should finish up?
Yeah, I think we had. Let's just be honest about it. We had a great topic. I mean, super great topic.
Yeah, fantastic topic.
Fantastic topic.
The top topic.
The top topic. And now people know it, huh? So no, indeed, the top topic, and I do think we have both an extended opinion about it, and maybe it's like almost. It would. I think to give us some time to really argue what we think and why we think it's maybe better to just do it next week, and then maybe it's kind of outdated. Maybe we have some new information, but then
we can give it its proper.
Yeah, I was searching for the word. Jesus Christ, proper indeed. Yeah, we are talking too much in English. Thank you for tuning in.
It's been a pleasure to have you all. Enjoy the rest of your morning, day or night. This has been Tom and
Jala,
and we hope to see you next time.
Bye.